The best rain is the rain that never reaches the storm drain. In Halton, Ontario, Canada, residents in the local conservation authority, Conservation Halton, are turning yards and campuses into living sponges, keeping water and life on site. In this video, we're going to hear from 5 different landowners in Halton, Ontario, about the actions they took, supported by Conservation Halton, to improve ecological connectivity through low-impact development. Then we'll explore the incredible low-impact development efforts of an entire building. So make sure you stick around to the end. But first, let's meet some of our Halton residents.
Also have a broader impact across the landscape, not only with that water aspect, but with the habitat it's creating. It's creating stepping stones of habitat all the way from like Cootes Paradise, Hamilton Harbour, up to past the escarpment, so that wildlife can move and that we have those ecosystem functions across the landscape.
We hold all the water on the property now. There's nothing going down to the street.
I really tried to get dog-friendly plants, so a lot of them were chosen that way. These are Canadian plants, a different viewpoint on land and how important it is and how it should be the function of what is rather than what's going on.
I see my land as like not my land. I see it as I share it with all the other living creatures. The way I see stewardship is like protecting, improving, and maintaining while like adding more and more good stuff to increase biodiversity.
Downspout goes into this rain garden and waters these plants, so it's like an automatic watering system. And one of the challenges when we first moved into this house was that actually all the water was moving towards the house, and so one of the things that having the rain gardens has really done is helped to not just provide this amazing habitat, but also to keep the stormwater away from the house and away from the foundation.
Low-impact development captures stormwater where it lands, filters pollutants, and cools overheated flows. Each feature becomes a stepping stone, tiny habitats that stitch neighborhoods back together so wildlife can move, feed, and breed.
Low-impact development are projects that are designed to capture stormwater and help it infiltrate into the ground, mimicking a more natural system such as in a forest. Conservation Halton, we've been doing a lot of work around low-impact development because it's going to capture stormwater runoff, which is runoff produced during like rainfall events. It's running on the ground, picking up pollutants like gas and soil and washing into our waterways. It's also running over that pavement that's typically warm in summer and getting really warm, so it's making our waterways kind of having a fever. So we've been trying to promote LIDs at residents or businesses to prevent that runoff so that we can have cooler water. We want cool waterways that are cleaner so that it helps protect our drinking water as well as support wildlife, and ultimately does help with flood prevention.
Let's see how 5 different properties of different sizes, budgets, and goals build both water and wildlife connectivity. Then stick around to the end to see how all of this feeds up into a larger scale project.
So I'm having invasive species management this year, which I got funding from Conservation Halton. I've identified a number of different invasive species on the property, including like English ivy, yellow ochre angel, grapevine, vinca, all those things. I'm not using fertilizers or pesticides, but I don't know if my neighbors are. So any of the rain that comes down is washing down. I'm just, spreading it further. So I'm going to be adding more native species out there with my downspout. A rain garden over there by the downspout, a rain garden where just every time it rains, this little reservoir fills up, and then a rain garden right here in front of the patio where it was just grass before. So have the downspout feed into the earth with some stones for filtering, and then plant some native species. Pretty much a whole patch of goldenrod. I'm trying to pare it back to find a balance between, some beautiful echinacea with some peonies and just kind of a bit more biodiversity.
One downspout redirected, one garden alive. Now, what happens when every downspout gets a job? Meet Bill, who turned his entire law into a storm sponge, so no water can hit the street.
Each downspout has its own rock bed, and then we've worked with the city requirements for the grass swale, but then also incorporated the native stuff where we had room to squeeze it in. We wanted to do some foundation plantings, so we ended up putting in Saskatoon berries, and then the flowering plant, I think it's a goblin. For our foundation plants there, some of those are native things. And you can see Spotted Joe here's liking it. That guy 6 weeks ago was come out of a 3-inch pot. He was like this high. We also got ourselves 2 rain barrels here that we hooked up to the spout. A decent rain will fill them up quite easily. So then I've got a little garden hose over here, that soaker hose in behind me that I can hook up, and it'll slowly drip out over time into the bed there and feed the stuff over there. That's what we're trying to do here, is manage water on our property, create an environment for the birds and insects, and be a good steward of the little piece of property I have.
Hydrology under control. Now let's talk beauty and comfort. Still to come, a dog-friendly native garden, a yard linked directly to a regional corridor, and a full low-impact development overhaul at the Conservation Halton admin campus. Watch to the end to see how an entire site can capture a storm.
The dog-friendly Canadian plants, and now that I've got another couple out the front, I wouldn't mind putting them in the back because I don't think my dog would touch them. But you don't know at first, you just have to go with it. I'm still waiting for the Joe Pye. They came in last September, and look at them, they're beautiful. So we're trying to grow a blueberry patch there. The wild geraniums are wonderful. And the function for me was I was trying to look for plants that flowered at different times because I want the butterflies and the bees and the animals that need it that we've kicked out to be able to have a place to come and eat. Whenever I looked at the shed, I always thought, I need to catch that water. So I really wanted to have the rain barrel system so that it kind of watered the plants when they needed it. When we need to conserve energy, like water is like right now, when everything is really hot. And if you have the rain barrels and you have them, then you can still water the plants. And the nice thing about these plants is they don't need as much water because they're Canadian.
From backyard serenity to neighborhood connectivity, next, Sarah's downspout auto waters a rain garden, and her yard stitches directly to the Eco Park corridor.
We do have a lot of deer, we have a lot of rabbits, we're right on a natural area. So, you try something and it gets eaten, and then you try something different and it doesn't get eaten, and then you get more of that thing. So that's been part of what we've done. And then also any native species that were either already here or that have actually reintroduced themselves. We found a lot of native species, especially asters and grasses and sedges, actually self-seed. And so once you know what they are, it's pretty easy, just let them do their own thing. One of the things that we've done is put in rain gardens. And so this giant water barrel catches a lot of rain and is really helpful, especially in summers like this when it's been dry. It is now empty, but it kept us going for weeks. But then when the water overflows the water barrel, then it goes down this drain and out, and you can't even really see the channel now because the plants have grown in, but basically all the water from that downspout goes into this rain garden and waters these plants. So it's like an automatic watering system. Some of my favorites are actually past bloom, but you can see their seed heads, and they certainly would have helped. It had tons and tons of bees and butterflies on them earlier in the season. And the seeds are often helpful for birds as they migrate as well. We put in this patio actually when we first moved in, and originally it was bigger. You can kind of see the circle. We put it in using permeable stones because we knew that that would allow the rain to wash away to percolate through the ground without actually causing erosion or causing pollution, which we thought was great. But we also realized then that the patio was actually too big. And so we cut it down to size and we're able to put in this nice little prairie garden here, which is just getting established. Stewardship to me means paying attention to the place that you are in and trying to give back to it as part of living with it, being able to contribute to a cycle of life in a meaningful way has been really rewarding, I think, for me.
Big wins at the edge of a corridor, but even a tiny urban patch can deliver daily wildlife. Christine's small plantings bring fireflies and goldfinches to the doorstep.
This has had zero maintenance. I've been, going away camping and fun things like that. So this is just the way that it is. What's really cool about this garden is not only all the bees and butterflies that we get, but fireflies now actually come on the property, and we're right in the middle of Burlington here. And every morning there's a whole little, like 5 or 6 little flock of yellow finches that come here, which is really exciting every morning when I leave to see them all. One nice thing about this garden though is that I've also tried to have that variety of plants bloom at different times. So really early in the season I had like some lakeside daisies that are really, really tiny. And then later on I had hairy beard tongue early in the season, foxglove early in the season. And then you can see these are getting ready. they're the asters. So trying to have blooms year round, and it's just one little patch that all the wildlife comes, the squirrels, the chipmunks, the bunnies, and it also gives us some snacks too. I've got some flowering raspberry that's really taken off this year, but it was an underutilized space, so I just threw some plants in and this is what it's ended up.
If a tiny patch can change a sidewalk and a season, imagine a whole campus. Welcome to the Conservation Halton Admin Building, where low impact development is taken to a whole new level.
The low impact development project at the administrative building at Conservation Halton is to showcase green infrastructure as well as how we can collect rain where it falls and keep it on the property and reduce stormwater runoff so that we're not polluting our creeks and streams. So this project is collecting our water. It can collect a 28 millimeter rainfall at 100% volume, so that will hold all that water in there and not let it go anywhere else. This is a big showcase for our community to come and see for their own projects at home or at their commercial buildings as well, so that they can demonstrate and understand how to process and put one into place at their own property. This is a native plant called white turtlehead. White turtlehead is a host plant for the Baltimore checker spot butterfly. And earlier this season when we were out in the garden, we saw their little caterpillars, which was very exciting. And then later on we did see a butterfly. So it's very important to have a native plant that is a host plant, which most native plants are for a native species, because you create that connectivity between landscapes. You're creating a pathway that they can travel from and produce and then travel back from, so that you're creating that landscape that's connected, and understanding that even a small garden with some native plants is creating that connection between a larger scape. This is a lovely drainage feature. It is iron and it has a nice pretty aspect to it, but it serves a very important role. Over to my right is one of the drainage pits. So that is where the water collects and holds, and then if it overflows, then it can flow through this drainage and go into the other retention pit. So that one will collect some more water. So we have more space to collect more rainfall for larger rain events. And the grading on top allows it to overspill if needed. And then that will overspill onto our permeable pavement. So all the pavement around here is permeable, which means that it will collect the water below the surface and allow it to drain between the porous surface and hold the water below so that we're not having flooded pathways above. So this is our bioswale at the Conservation Halton Administrative Building. A bioswale is slightly different from a rain garden and the bioretention pits on the other side because it is a little bit more engineered. It is typically connected to a drain pipe at the bottom, and it also has a couple different layers. So we start at the top here with some mulch and proper soil so that we can plant some plants in there. Then we go below the surface and we add some sand mixture as well as some rocks, and then you have a little bit more of a pit below to hold the water. So salt tolerant plants are extremely important for a bioswale like this that's within a parking lot. Some species are things like big blue stem or grasses like switchgrass and little blue stem. We also have our black-eyed Susans as well as asters. And it's really important that we do salt responsibly so that we aren't damaging those plants and keeping those plants healthy for those pollinators that want them.
When rain stays on land, cooler, cleaner, and slower, streams recover and neighborhoods come alive. Connectivity isn't just about big parks. It's the chain of small actions anyone can take. One redirected downspout, one native bed, one permeable path. If you have a balcony, a tiny yard, a big lot, or a business property, there's a low impact development option that's just for you. Explore low impact development options in your area and support your local ecosystems. Check the description for a link to Conservation Halton to learn more about their low impact development programs and funding opportunities. Next time, we're diving into restoration, how Christmas trees, floating vegetation mats, and invasive species removal become tools for rebuilding connectivity across creeks and shorelines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.